So in case you didn't know, today is National First Generation Day. I didn't know it existed. It's a day to honor first generation college students. And as a first generation college student, I wanted to demystify some of the things out there that other first generation college students may be struggling to navigate. So I think the first thing is, if it feels like your classmates have it all together and you don't, that's okay. Everybody really is struggling with their own areas of navigating higher education, even if they aren't first generation. So if you're a first generation college student and you feel like you don't belong, you absolutely belong there. That's something that I struggled with. I remember students, fellow classmates ask me, why I had to work, where I had been when I was burnt out, and really not understanding some of the struggles that I was facing. But I did belong, just like you belong. And, it can be hard and isolating, but don't let that get to you. Find your people, reach out, and you absolutely belong. Now, in terms of more of the technical side, one of the other things that I did not utilize enough, that I really encourage my students now to use, is office hours. Your professor's office hours are designed as time for you. They are more drop-in hours than anything. That means that those are hours that are designed for you to go ask your professor questions. Don't feel like you're bothering them. Don't feel like you're imposing on them. Those times are set aside so that way you can ask them questions. Sure, there may be some out there that aren't the greatest with communication, or maybe aren't the most welcoming, but that doesn't dismiss the fact that that time is for you as a student to go ask questions, for clarification. And, it can also be really useful for you to just introduce yourself. Always great to have a professor put a face to the name, and to be able to maybe write you letters of recommendation down the road, or, to be able to see you in the hall and give you recommendations for other things in the future. Another thing is that, and this may not be the case for every faculty member, but for me, I get really excited when my students ask me if there's any research that they can participate in terms of on the research side. So I have a small research lab that is comprised of 2 undergrads, 1 graduate student, and 1 who recently graduated with her master's. And if other folks wanted to join, they're absolutely welcome. So, if your professor researches something or does some sort of work that's really cool and exciting, don't hesitate to ask them either for more guidance and direction, or to see if there's anything that you can participate in. I think that being, proactive, and taking initiative is great. And even if it feels a little kind of, unwelcoming, maybe, or awkward, that can be really hard to struggle with, but that isn't a reflection of you. But oftentimes they're going to be really excited too. So ask, see if there's something you can participate in, especially if, graduate school is the direction you want to go. And lastly, if you're struggling with your classwork, or you're struggling with keeping up, or, you're a couple weeks in and you maybe missed a bunch of class, don't hesitate to go talk to the professor and go talk to your counselor. There are a lot of opportunities for you, and supports, and especially now when we understand the role of equity, and as a first generation college student, there's a lot of programs out there. The CSU colleges, for instance, in California, have what's called EOP. I was a part of what was called AAP at UCLA. So there's a lot of really awesome support programs out there, and believe it or not, many people are going to be much more understanding of your circumstances than you realize. So do not feel ashamed, and don't let that absence keep you from going and asking questions and saying, hey, I've been struggling with this, or I didn't have anyone else to go to. What can I do to get caught up? That for me is really key. And when I have folks who have fallen behind, I normally reach out to them, but I know that sometimes it's really hard to be upfront with your professors. So reach out to your professors, and especially your counselors or academic advisors, because they're going to be able to point you in the right direction, so that way you don't ever feel like you don't belong. And if you are struggling, you are able to come up with a solid plan to get you back on track. If you want more content around higher education, or you need some additional support, don't forget to follow. And you can also find me on other platforms such as Substack to get some more details about some of the things that I talk about.